So we see here Isaiah 53:9, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. So you got to go on a tour with Ron, with a tour group.
With a tour.
1994.
Yes.
Yeah. To Israel, and he went down into Egypt. Now, you went to this, it's an underground grave site near the garden tomb, which, which fulfills this text here, right?
Yes. There's only like a stone fence between that property and the property of the garden tomb. They join. And this place is called St. Stephen's. There's a church there, but you go outside, and there are steps that go down into the ground. So down underground are, it's like cut out tombs, room after room after room. There are bone rooms and places to lay out bodies for embalming or wrapping or whatever. And when the bones completely dried, they would take the bones and put them in the like a little cave bone room area. And that it was a large thing. I was surprised at how many rooms there were and how many bones and bodies they could hold. But Ron said that the back of the tomb where Jesus lay, Joseph's new tomb, and it was a new tomb because the two places for bodies, one of them wasn't completely finished, and there was a mourning room, but there was not a bone room, and that hadn't been carved out yet. Ron said if you go through that, he thought that it joined the tombs from St. Stephen's, right there close together, which were tombs of rich people. They were very difficult to carve out from solid rock, all these rooms and places in there. So the wicked and the rich, close to Jesus' tomb.
So let's take a look at a video clip that you shot there down in the tombs when you went inside.
Tombs, older tombs, and then older tombs that lead to the garden.
Oh, that looks familiar.
That's like a shelf there to prepare the body.
And then I think the other side is the bone room. That's what I'm thinking of. Shows the bones. There's one of the bones.
Yeah, there's the bones. No bones about it.
But there were several rooms.
Yeah, so that's interesting, fulfilling that verse, Isaiah 53:9. Amazing. Now, you also went with Ron down to Nuweiba, Egypt, where there's the pillar marking the Red Sea crossing spot.
Yes.
So let's take a quick look at that. And there's also the Wadi Watur. I think that's the first thing we may see, where the children of Israel came through the mountains at that spot and entered the beach area. The Wadi Watur. Here we are at the Wadi.
Yes. I've been through that 18 miles of Wadi Watur.
Did you? Okay.
In an air-conditioned bus. And it felt terrible because the road is so narrow and there were no trees. I wonder how a rabbit could live in that area. And the road was so crooked you couldn't see where you'd been in the front or where you came from in the back.
Yeah, so this is the entrance into Wadi Watur if you're looking west, facing Cairo. Now we're at the crossing spot.
November 20th.
So down.
Yes, it was down that next road and downhill.
Yeah, down the hill over
Ron
this.
Took me there.
And,
yes, down there, and he He said, went right by the water, and he says, now, Jesslyn, I want to show you where the children of Israel started to cross. He said, right here, and I reached down and put my hand in the water where he said they started to cross.
Now here's Ron in the yellow pants and bluish shirt.
Oh, yeah, going that way.
Ron stepping up toward the column here, the pillar.
This my film?
Yes, yellow pants. Ron is in the yellow pants here.
Oh.
This is the Red Sea crossing zone.
There's,
And looking down to the beach area, when I stepped into the water. Saudi Arabian mountains in the distance.
yes.
Yeah.
We had gotten lost in the wilderness of Zin in our air-conditioned bus. We went to
Kadesh Barnea.
Kadesh Barnea, yes, and we got out of the bus at Mount Hor,
Yes.
and then we walked. Ron and Richard could walk really fast over these rocks for a solid hour, almost. I had to run almost sometimes to keep up, looking for where the Moses struck the rock
Yes.
instead of speaking to it.
Right.
And the sun went down, and we weren't really sure we even saw the place, and we had to go back. Got in the bus and had to head for, because we got to see the shape of that mountain where Aaron died.
Mount Hor.
Mount Hor, yes. And the bus got lost. There was just dirt roads, and then we came across a place that had water in it that didn't have water in it when we came in. And then the bus turned around. I don't know how it did in that one-lane little road, but it turned around. And anyway, we ended up at our separate night. We were supposed to be at the hotel at 7 o'clock, and we made it at 11 o'clock
Oh,
that
my.
night. And we, my two sons and I had our scuba gear with us because Ron was going to take a scuba diving in the Red
Really?
Sea while the others were driving in the bus to the Red Sea crossing site.
Oh.
And because we got there at 11 and they fed us and our alarms went off at 3 o'clock in the morning
Oh,
to
my.
get on the bus to head toward the Red Sea crossing site. Anyway, we didn't get to go diving with Ron in the Red Sea after all. And he got us tickets while the other people were gone to a restaurant to eat. Ron bought me and my two sons and a daughter-in-law tickets to go down in that glass observatory.
Yes. See the coral and fish.
Yes, the
Now this is at a lodge, right?
lionfish swimming up to
Yeah.
look at you through the window, like you were in the aquarium and the fish were looking at you.
Yeah.
And then Ron bought us sandwiches, and then we got on the bus and made the rest of our trip.
That's nice. So then you made it to the Garden Tomb grounds there at Jerusalem. You've got some video here of Ron in front of the tomb itself. And then Ron's going to speak to your group. He may have spoken for 30 or 40 minutes. It became darker and darker. But we can watch this now from your
Yeah, it was a long sermon.
yeah.
But I mean, it was good, but it was long. And then birds were chirping. It was their bedtime.
Yeah.
And then the tower where they call people
prayer
to prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Ron didn't show us where the cross, the
Really.
crucifixion site was. He said about 80 feet from where you're sitting on the benches.
Really?
But he did not point it out.
Wow. Okay.
Because he may have still been under the death threat.
He was still respecting what the IAA had told him not to tell where it is. Yeah.
I could tell
Okay.
something else about the IAA later.
Okay. So here's at the front of the Garden Tomb, and Ron's going to be here shortly. This is inside the tomb.
That one's not finished.
Yeah.
That one was.
There's the one that Jesus was laid in on the left.
There's my son Jesse there with the stripes on his sleeves
Oh.
and his wife beside him.
Okay. So here's
There's Ron pointing out.
here's Ron pointing out the end of the broken shaft.
Catholics have a place that they think is the place.
They do have, but it has never been outside the city walls. They excavated under the Russian Orthodox section of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They found a 14-inch wall. Well, that was a building wall. It was not an outside city wall. There has never in history been a city wall that was under 12 feet thick. I'd like to start out in the 9th verse of Jude. You know, that's a one-chapter book, and it says that Michael was contending with Satan over the body of Moses, and he didn't bring a railing accusation against Satan. He simply said, "The Lord rebuke thee." Now, we know that Moses was resurrected because he appeared with Christ on the Mount of Transfiguration. I don't know if Mika pointed out one of the candidates for that mountain. Nobody knows for sure, but Moses was there. He appeared with Christ and Elijah, as you recall. So why would Satan be contesting that? The Bible in Ezekiel makes comment, or Jeremiah, I believe it is, about lawful captives. It says, "Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, and shall the lawful captive be set free?" And it says, "The prey shall be taken from the mighty, and the lawful captive shall be set free." And it goes on to say that I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and will save thy children, which of course is a very precious promise to us. Now, Moses had sinned, and he died. He had not been bought with a price. He had participated in the blood sacrifice system, the Old Covenant. But until Christ died, Moses was Satan's lawful captive. And we should keep that in mind. And not only Moses, but a lot of others were Satan's lawful captives until Christ died. Now, in Isaiah 26:19, it says, "Thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise." And it says, "Awake and sing, ye that sleep in the dust, for your dew shall be as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out her dead." This was a prophecy roughly 600 years before Christ's time. And it was fulfilled in Christ's death, and that's recorded in Matthew chapter 27, verses 50 through 53. It says, "When Christ had cried again, he died. The veil of the temple was rent in twain from top to bottom." That signified the ending of the blood sacrifice system. The most holy place was laid open to the view of whoever happened to be out in front of the doors of the temple. And it says that he would cause sacrifice and oblation to cease. Now then, it says the earth shook, and the rocks were rent, and the graves were opened. And many of the saints that were asleep arose. And when he arose, they arose and went into the holy city and were seen of many. Well, this was the holy city down here. Of course, that part of that age of the city has been destroyed. Did you all go through the Damascus Gate, Mika? You didn't. Okay. Anyway, down here is the original gate from the Roman period. It's been excavated, and you can see that. Now they have books with pictures of all of the things that you haven't had a chance to see. But anyway, those people went through that gate into the city and showed themselves to some very shocked relatives, I'm sure. Now, what happened between the time that Michael was there to resurrect Moses and the time that this happened, when many of the saints that were asleep arose? Now, for hundreds of years, the blood of animals were sprinkled on the mercy seat of God's earthly throne. If you read in Exodus and Leviticus, Moses was instructed to make a replica, an earthly replica of the throne room of God. Remember, God said, see that you make it after the pattern shown you in the mountain. So God has a throne in heaven, but he has an earthly throne here. And on that earthly throne, in the presence of the Shekinah glory, the blood of these animals that represented Christ as our sin bearer was sprinkled. Now, 600 years before Christ was to be crucified, the Babylonian army was coming down from the north to destroy Jerusalem. And some godly men were informed by God to take that Ark of the Covenant and the other furnishings of the temple and hide them in a cave chamber in this cliff face that you just walked by, okay? The one that has the skull, face of the skull in it. He had them hide it under there. Now, 600 years later, the Romans chose a spot directly above where the Ark of the Covenant was, and they cut out cross holes in the bedrock of this quarry, not up on the hill where most of us have been taught that it occurred. But I would like to point out that this is Mount Moriah. Even this quarry that we're in over here is still Mount Moriah. And so anyway, there was 20 feet of solid limestone, dolomite, if you please, which is very hard. That's why that face is still intact out there. The bridge of the nose on that it has a hardness rating of 8. And that's why it didn't roll away, and it has been there for 2,000 years. There's no reason to believe otherwise. Anyway, when the earth shook and the rocks were rent, God split that whole escarpment, and there will be a time when we can show you that, opened a crack right along the left side of the cross hole and right down into the chamber where the Ark of the Covenant was. Now, the human spleen is located under the 5th rib on the left side. And if you'll look up 5th rib in the Bible, you'll find that that was where people smoked somebody to kill them. When Joseph of Arimathea went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus, the soldiers were surprised that he had already died. Pilate was surprised that he was already dead. And he told this Roman soldier, he says, you go make sure he's dead, and then you give the body to this man. Well, the Roman soldier hit Christ a death blow. He stuck his spear into the spleen. Now, in a healthy, live person, the spleen holds from 2 to 3 units of blood. It's a reservoir, it's an emergency supply. When you get frightened or angry, that contracts. It's a smooth muscle, and adds that much extra blood into your circulation. This gives you more energy, helps you think quicker, and all of this. But when a person dies, the spleen becomes flaccid, and it'll hold from 3 to 4 units of blood. Now, blood is a mixture, it's not a solution. A solution you can set on a shelf for years, and it'll stay the same. A mixture, when you set it and quit shaking it, in the case of blood, when the heart quits pumping it around, it starts to separate out. The platelets float to the surface, and the serum stays at the bottom. Then very quickly, after the platelets separate, they clot, and you'd have a massive clot rate. So this all had to happen in a very timely manner. If it had not, there would have been no blood flowed out. There would have been only the serum.
Here's on the Dome of the Rock, and I'm standing next to the Dome of the Spirits, and it's got like some virgin rock here. Maybe it's limestone. It's not the tile like the rest of it. Did Ron ever say anything about this?
Yes, I was up there with the group with Ron, and we took turns standing in it. They said it's supposedly over the spot where the Ark of the Covenant was in Solomon's temple, because of the they know because of the position of this with the Eastern Gate, or the Golden Gate.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's the area where the Ark of the Covenant disappeared from before Jerusalem fell.
Yes, so this little monument would have been put up around in the 1500s or 1600s, perhaps. Interesting. So in the distance, in the far left, is the Mount of Olives, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So during Ron's excavation, he started it in January 1979, and it was that year he was tunneling into the cliff face, and he found this ivory pomegranate. Is that right?
Yeah, he was looking for the Ark of the Covenant. He hadn't found it, and he was going through a tunnel. Sometimes he talked about this using flashlights and candles to see his way, because tunnels were really, really dark. Mm-hmm. One time he talked about taking string in there and leaving string along the way, mm-hmm, so that he could find his way back out again.
Yeah.
Just string. But he found the little ivory pomegranate and another piece or two with it. It was like a little scepter, but it had been broken, and the part of it from the back of that was still attached to the, what he called a stick.
Yeah.
And he said he gave it to them at the head of antiquities, Israeli Antiquities Authority.
The pomegranate, yeah.
But he did not give them the stick. Ron saw the ancient Hebrew writing, and I think he could understand some of it. And he figured it was very valuable, and he said that he was thinking that maybe somebody someday might make a counterfeit and want to exchange it for the real thing, and that if that happened, he could take them and put the stick up to it, and he could tell whether it was the original or a fake.
If it would fit or not, yeah.
So he didn't give them both pieces.
Yeah. Mm. Interesting.
But some people think that it was found in the cave with the other furnishings. No, it was not. It was found long before he found the Ark of the Covenant, before he got in that cave.
So it was later that year in '79 that a French antiquities dealer had this up for sale because it had been stolen out of the Israel Antiquities Authority. I guess some storage room where they had it stored or something. And so the IAA had to buy it back from the French antiquities dealer for $550,000.
And some people got fired from the IAA over that.
And it was on display in the Israel Museum there in Jerusalem. I saw it in 2005.
I think I saw it in 2004.
Okay.
And I was yelled at because I was close to the glass container that it was in.
Yeah.
That's a huge, huge museum with 2 floors. And going through the museum, that was the only place that was being guarded by an armed guard. And they didn't want anybody anywhere near it. And no pictures were allowed.
It's been shown in the Biblical Archaeology Review many times.
Yes, but they have never mentioned Ron Wyatt. He has been given no credit whatsoever, and he's the one who found it.
This is the only object from the first temple ever found, so it's very, very valuable.
He was so excited when he came back telling me about it. I wished I could have seen it, but I finally did get to see it. It was after Ron was gone.
So, Jesslyn, you've got some interesting artifacts that you've brought here to show us and to show the folks at home. What's this first piece, this white rock that you've got here?
It is pretty and white and sparkly. Ron told me that when he went to Saudi Arabia looking for Mount Sinai, he found the leavings of big pieces of pillars that the Bible spoke of, the 12 pillars, of one representing each tribe of Israel. And this is from one of the pillars
Okay.
in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.